Welcome back to Million Dollar Landscaper Podcast. Now, before I get into today's topic, I want to remind you, if you are looking to grow your landscaping business, you want to learn how to price your work based on your business's numbers, not some industry standards or multiplying by 2 or 3, then you need to check out the Million Dollar Academy. Inside the Academy, we have all the tools, all the resources, all the calculators you need to easily figure this out on your own and we make it so simple for you. So definitely check out the Million Dollar Academy today. Now, today's topic, we are chatting with Jake and Cody of Evergrow Marketing. Now, these guys are whizzes when it comes to marketing. And the one thing that I love about these guys, these are data-driven individuals. They want to know the numbers. They're going to share the numbers with you. And this is the data that's going to help prove that why you need to do the marketing in the wintertime. That's what today's topic is all about, is marketing in the slower winter months. I know a lot of times we think, we're not getting that much work. Nobody's really looking for this. They have the proof today to share with you that people are looking for landscapers in the wintertime. So sticking around for today's podcast after a quick word from our sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Busy Busy. Busy Busy is so simple to use, and it's the most reliable GPS time tracking app on the market. And the best part is, it was built for landscapers. Busy Busy's founder created Busy Busy because he owns multiple construction companies and needed to understand better which projects were making him money and which projects were killing him. Payroll is the highest variable cost in the project, so you better be tracking it. Busy Busy does this better than anyone else. So download Busy Busy today, and don't forget to mention the Million Dollar Landscaper Podcast to get 3 free months.
We want to take a quick second to tell you about our friends over at Cycle CPA. I can't even express to you how important it is to have a good accountant on your side. You know you want accurate bookkeeping and financial statements every month. Instead, you're often left with limited time to focus on the accounting side of your business and no reports to show for it. At Cycle CPA, the landscaping accountants, they not only handle the bookkeeping, but also provide landscape industry benchmarking, job costing, financials by service line, advisory meetings, and much more. Cycle CPA has a team of landscaping accountants available to provide anything from bookkeeping to CFO services. Visit cyclecpa.com, and for $100 off, mention the Million Dollar Landscaper Podcast.
Welcome back to Million Dollar Landscaper Podcast. I'm so excited to bring back on a returning guest. Today we have Jake Hunley and Cody C of Evergrow Marketing. These guys are amazing. These guys do create awesome websites, and I'm excited to have them back on to share some great information today. So welcome, Jake. Welcome, Cody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for having us again.
Yeah, appreciate you guys taking the time to be out here. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about marketing and not letting up in the wintertime. But before we dive into that, you guys mind sharing a little bit of information about yourself and what you guys are all about?
Yeah, we're a digital marketing agency that specializes in the landscaping and lawn care industry. If you've listened to this podcast, you've probably heard us a few times, but we really put a focus on data-driven digital marketing and focus on the actual amount of leads that come in versus kind of some of those more Cody, what do we call metrics? Vanity metrics.
We don't care much for impressions. It's mostly leads are our main thing that we like to focus on.
Trying to be that the kind of your guys to handling your digital marketing, so you don't have to worry about it.
I love it. Love it. These guys have written a bunch of different articles for different magazines. You guys mind sharing a few of the magazines you guys have been in?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been writing articles for other landscape industry magazines since 2018, I think. We did our first couple in Turf Magazine. There's a couple of really good ones in there that are 9 tips to market your lawn care business in the winter. And then there's another article I wrote called "The Fly-By-Night Guys Are Not Your Competition." There was a Green Industry Pros article. I can't remember what that one was called, but it was along the same lines. And then featured in Lawn and Landscape, but more as like an expert feature or digital marketing expert. And then Cody was recently published in Landscape Management about how Google Ads.
Google Ads don't scale linearly like door hangers or yard signs, right? Just kind of explaining the logistics of how the numbers work. But yep, so we've been in that one too. It seems like we've been in most of them at this point.
Nice.
We got a new Turf Magazine article coming out in a couple of days. That's for really what this episode's going to be about.
Awesome. Good correlation there. Good mix up.
Yeah.
But no, it's one thing I love about you guys. You guys are all about helping and sharing a great wealth of information. So if you guys haven't been to the website, definitely go check out their website. They got tons of stuff on their blog. These guys are always willing to help out and help out our fellow landscapers. So I encourage you guys to go check out their website, reach out to these guys. These guys are great people. The other thing I really love about you guys is that you guys are all about the numbers, and like you said earlier, about the leads and the important numbers. Some other people I've worked with in the past have not done that so well. I've actually got told by somebody that I was personally working with that numbers don't matter, and they do.
That's
so
weird.
that's what I really love about you guys.
I say that should be the only thing that matters.
Yeah. It's like saying profit doesn't matter at all. It doesn't. But no, today I'm excited to have you guys on here because we wanted to talk about marketing specifically in the wintertime, about not giving up on marketing. I know some people like literally shut off all their ads, shut off everything, and don't worry about it because they think, it's a wintertime, it's slow season. I don't need to worry about that right now. But you guys are saying the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, it's a decision. It really comes down to your goals. And this is like, I never want to kind of blanket say like, you shouldn't shut off your marketing in the winter, because if you don't want to grow at all in the spring, then keeping your marketing off in the winter might be the decision for you. But if you want to grow in the spring, or have better cash flow in the winter, and I know, the first knee-jerk reaction to that statement is, what do you mean better cash flow? I can't even deliver on jobs in the winter. Well, you don't necessarily have to deliver on jobs in the winter. You can take deposits in the winter, and there's ways to do that kind of coincide with marketing. But yeah, it's a common question that we get asked a lot, which is, should I dial back my marketing or shut it off? Or sometimes it's not even a question; it's more of a demand, and that's okay. We're month to month. We always have our recommendations of whether you should shut it down or how much you should dial it back.
What I think about this too is I always refer back to, I've always heard this, Coca-Cola doesn't give up on their marketing. They're always producing ads, but everybody knows who Coke is, but they don't give up. It's the same thing here, correct?
Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, Coke wants to grow. They've got stakeholders to keep happy. And a lot of the guys in this industry are, owner operators. They're just sole proprietors, LLCs. And the only people that they have to keep happy are themselves, or if they have employees, keeping them employed, or I think a lot of people will do the unemployment thing in the winter. But if I would imagine most people, especially listening to this podcast, want to get out of the daily grind, and so turning things off in the winter doesn't quite make sense. And there's a few reasons why. And the biggest one always comes down to the end of the year. So we think about when marketing is typically slowed down towards the end of the year, and it's right around November. Like that's when like the last cleanups are happening. At least for the northern clients, the southern landscapers, they keep doing things all year round. But even in the north, you have kind of that November, December, January timeframe that just kind of nothing happening. But I always tell like lawn care clients, especially because there's definitely nothing happening in the winter for lawn care in terms of services. However, at the end of the year is also when competitors are sending annual renewals out for their clients. And there's a slew of reasons why someone would want to reevaluate their current contractor. And it could be, it might not just be they're unhappy. It could just be maybe that contractor was acquired and they don't have that personal relationship with them anymore. And they're more willing to look around, or maybe there's a rate increase that was higher than what it should have been, or, there's plenty of other reasons, but the reasons for you to get out there and either conquest those via like door to door or postcards, or even, just making sure you have a search budget to where you're discoverable when someone is searching during that time. The other thing is commercial maintenance contracts. A lot of company budgets are reevaluated at the end of the year for the new season or the new year, and those are right when those departments are researching for options. So those are just two main reasons why I want to shut it down. There's plenty more, but we can tackle those in a little
Well,
bit.
I think too, there's more to marketing than just, I know a lot of people just think it's spending money in some way. And there's other things that can be done to market your business, like social media and stuff like that. And like you said, handing out or putting out flyers or sending out emails or letters, whatever it is, there's a lot of things that you could do that don't necessarily cost you money, correct?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You can write articles for your site to help boost your organic presence. Yeah, you can take a page out of um, Laura
Mhm.
Reale. Set up an email funnel and keep your current customers and also your past customers engaged. Um, there's plenty more. You don't have to. In fact, we often recommend not to spend what you were spending in like the spring and the summer to keep it running. Just dial it back a bit, but don't completely shut things down.
Yeah. Well, we work so hard to get those customers during the spring and summer and all those months. We need to, make sure we're staying in contact with them. And then, like you said, sending emails out to them, letting them know what services are, getting their mind thinking about creating a plan. If they want to build that outdoor kitchen, maybe now's the time to start promoting, doing the design service while you're not as busy. So there's a lot of things that you can do that you may not think about.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We just did our Cody. We did our
Yep.
benchmarks post
Annual benchmarks.
recently.
Just kind of going
Um,
over what
yeah,
we see. I mean, the thing about benchmarks is sometimes people want to publish them as this is the average for the entire industry, and it's not entirely true, right? It's the average that we see. So it's biased towards
Mhm.
our way of doing things, which is we like to do it because it gives people an idea of what they could expect when working with us, but also if they have no idea at all, and we do run into that too, where people just have no clue what to expect, and they say, you pay that much for a click? Yeah, clicks are expensive, but it's a good idea to get get a pulse for what that'll be like, and that's why we publish it. But actually, this year, um, I was so slow to do it that Jake said, "Stand aside. I'm going to crunch the numbers. I'm taking care of this."
I did. I crushed your 2020 benchmarks too. Well, so it was, yeah. We like to get them out in like January, February, like early in the year, so like we can have like an immediate recap of the previous year. But we didn't get to the 2021 benchmarks until this month, so it's been a little 12 months behind. But it was extensive. Like we went through all of our ad accounts, all of our Google Analytics accounts for all of our landscaping clients, pretty much across the U.S., and broke it down. Like, what's the average cost per click? How much does the average cost per lead on Google? How long do people stay on the page on average? And what's the bounce rate, new versus returning? There's just a ton of information in there, and there's a chart in there that it's called CTR versus CVR. It's click through rate versus conversion rate. And this was just something that when we were pulling data, I came across, and I thought this is like a perfect case study of why you shouldn't shut down your marketing. And the data shows it. It's in December. It shows that basically conversions, like leads and clicks, are like at kind of the all-time low for the year, which is kind of expected. But in January, like right starting in January, you have the highest click-through rate out of any month out there. So I broke it down in percentages, and in January, the average click-through rate is 58% higher than the entire year average. So incredibly high. However, the conversion rate is 40% or 42% lower than the entire yearly average. So there's a ton of people searching, but not a lot of people taking action in January. What that says is in April, which is the highest converting month, April has a 70% higher conversion rate than any other month, which is expected. But it's only like a marginal click-through rate. Like it's not even the best click-through rate, or even close to it. So what that means, if you want to interpret the data, is that people really search in January, but don't actually take action until April. And if you see a general uptick in call volume in like that March and April timeframe, even though you're not doing anything in January, that's probably expected, but you're probably not going to see a 70% higher return. You might see like a 30% higher return or a 40% higher return. So if you're not marketing in the winter months, you could be missing a huge opportunity that was searching for you in January, but decided not to take action until April and then reach out to the company that they had actually engaged with.
So just so everybody knows, I'll put the link for that, the benchmarks that Cody and Jake put together. I'll have that in the show notes for you guys too. So make sure you click on that. It's fun or full of fun information there. So, so having that knowledge there, what can we do to help market our business? Like going back, just doing the blogs, or is there ads, or what do you suggest on this?
We can give you really good ideas on what we do with our clients for what we suggest, especially related to ad spend. A lot of our clients end up dropping ad spend. They usually ask us what they should do, whether they should completely drop it and wait or continue to spend it. And for us, it doesn't matter whether they drop their ad spend or not, because we still did the SEO over the winter, and increasing their ad spend doesn't necessarily mean it increases our profit margin at all. It really doesn't. So we just say, hey, here's where the opportunity is. If you want to drop it, that's fine. But there are like some rules that we usually follow during the winter in regards to like dropping ad spend or considering that. But I've been talking forever, so I'll let Cody talk about.
Yeah, I think the simplest way to think about it is that it's to always remember. I mean, Scott, you were talking about the other marketing tactics that people can use, and a lot of them are awareness based, right? I mean, calling attention to things so people are they're aware when the time comes to kind of make those decisions. I think of it similar to a lot of the tactics and techniques that real estate agents use, because I remember one time receiving it was a fridge magnet. It had like a calendar, and it was from a realtor. And I just thought, well, this has really nothing to do with realty. And that's the point, is when you have something like that, it's not to be, for them, it's not to be there, right when you're making that decision. It's to be in their mind when the time comes. So you do have those techniques, but the nice thing about search is that the only time you're showing up is when people are looking for you. And if people aren't looking for you, then you don't need to worry about it. So when we get to winter, we see demand shrink, no doubt, right? That's not a surprise. Everybody would expect that. But the thing is that it doesn't go to zero. And what happens is other people, there's this thing called auction insights. We're able to see other advertisers who are going against our clients in the Google's auction for search ads, and they'll drop off. They'll just disappear. So that means less competition at those times to still show up, because people are still searching. Yes, not as many, right? And right, like Jake said, they're not pulling the trigger, but they are in research mode. And you're going to be in their brain when the time comes in the spring and they start looking again too. So yeah, the big thing is that we see the demand. It's still there. We do tell people, and we recommend that not sometimes we'll proactively say, hey, you got to drop your ad spend, right? We call it impression share, which is basically the total number of impressions that you could receive, an impression being a time when your ad is shown. It shrinks because fewer people are searching for those sorts of things. We aim for typically up to 65% impression share. And that's because once you start going above that mark, that's when Google starts to eat your money. It starts getting lit on fire, and it's just not cost effective, usually. Of course, we do have the exceptions where guys say, I don't care. I want to be there 100% of the time. And Yeah, if you want to pay $30 for a click, right? If you do want to get into that, because it's ego thing, that's an option. It's not really cost effective to do that, but yeah, the majority of the time anyway. But so it does happen. The demand is there, and it's important to be showing up. That's with ads. So when the winter comes, reduce it, bring it down, and kind of find that sweet spot of, well, how do we keep showing up? Because we know that people are searching. What's a healthy impression share to kind of stick to at that point? Also considering what your marketing budget is. And then once spring comes back around, and then the impression starts to grow again because people are searching and demand is starting to increase again, you can move again with it. So it's not one of those things where we say, you should spend the same amount because we want to make the same amount of money. We don't care. We don't operate like that. It's not how we run things. But yeah, as far as ads go, I think that's some of the biggest stuff to know.
So one thing, if you can elaborate on for those that are listening, when you say search, are you talking, people are typing in their company name, or are they searching for specific topics, whatever their needs are? Do you
Yeah.
mind elaborating
And
on
I'll
that
make
a
another
little?
plug for the article that we just published right before the benchmarks one, which is we go into landscaping keywords and kind of like good tactics and good techniques on how to target those. But usually, yes, people are searching for your brand name or your competitor's brand name, but a lot of your biggest keywords are just going to be your service category, which, and a lot of the time is just landscaping, right? People are looking for landscaping services, landscaping companies, that sort of thing. And then probably your location too, or some of your top cities or neighborhoods that you serve. That combination it's fire. I mean, it's dynamite if you go after your top services and then your top locations. Yeah. Sorry, did I answer that right?
So how would you I understand if they're searching for landscaping near
Yep.
Georgia or whatever, Atlanta, Georgia, or whatever it is. That is important, but other key terms like if you do outdoor
Mm-hmm.
kitchens or irrigation or sprinkler repair or landscape lighting, do you want to have those ranking? And how do those get ranked? Is it based
Mm-hmm.
off your website or
Very good point.
through ads?
So that's another reason why people should read that post because I don't want to
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy who's like, just read our stuff. Shameless plug.
Yeah.
But so that's something that we hear other people talk about a lot is they'll get into very specific services that they want to promote. And again, the way that search works is you don't get to decide those things. You don't get to make people search for certain things. And some of those things are good to target with SEO because most people don't click on ads. I tell people all the time, I'm the ad guy, but I tell people if you look at the numbers statistically, more people don't click on ads than people who do click on ads. So when you think about that, anything that you target with an ad has to be pretty substantial with the amount of people that are searching for it. So now that's different from the user experience. You should have those things available and shown on your website so people know that you do them. But more often than not, at least with ads and with Google, people will search for a general category with something in mind. I use a gym example often where, if you want to join a gym, you usually have a good idea of what kind of gym you want to join, but you don't search for that. You pretty much just search for gyms near me, right? Something that pretty broad, and
Yeah.
you'll narrow it down. You'll sort it out from there based on the information that you find out. Like, I'm not, it's been a shame. I'm ashamed to say that it's been a while since I've been to the gym, but I'm not a treadmill gym guy. I like the weights. I like to, free weights and that sort of thing. So, but you don't search for that. And the same thing applies with landscaping a lot of the time too. And one example that we use in the article is hardscapes. Everybody loves hardscapes. Everybody wants to sell hardscapes, no doubt, right? Those are good jobs. They can be big money jobs. That's awesome. But when it comes to the average person, many of them don't even know that there's a difference between hardscapes and landscapes. They're just going
Yep.
to say, well, I need landscaping. And then they're going to say, well, yeah, you do outdoor kitchens, right? You do fireplaces. That's landscaping. It's like, well, no, but as far as the general category goes, yes. So have those things on your website. Make sure that they're that information is available, but the demand and what people are searching rarely goes that narrow. And we do have our own internal list of categories that do get, kind of that detailed. For example, like tree services in general, people do get that specific, tree removal, stump grinding, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them, are a much bigger stretch to try and make work or try and make happen.
Yeah, fertilization is one of those. Which nobody searches for fertilization companies. They just search for lawn care.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those reasons why we don't have like a fertilization ad group in our ads. We use it as a service call out extension for our lawn care ads.
Yeah. Now, I know we've been talking a lot about Google. Do you guys recommend Facebook ads too? I know you're not a huge fan of Facebook, but
yeah, we're a fan of Facebook if you're maximizing your Google opportunities and your what I call the budget neutral marketing options. So those are like your emails and your I guess technically door to door isn't really budget neutral if you're giving out door hangers, but yeah, we do recommend Facebook. It's just you should definitely be prioritizing search ads on Google in your SEO because those are lower funnel. It's higher ROI. If you want kind of any opportunity and you're not really worried about fielding calls, then Facebook is a really good option to promote. So what we usually see is a lot more activity and a lot more leads coming from Facebook, but it's, where 80% of the leads that come from Google are great, where 20% of the leads that come from Facebook are great. So, and it totally depends too on what the service you're offering. I mean, the leads might be better for, regular lawn maintenance versus what you're trying to sell, which is like landscaping projects. Typically people who come from Google have a higher, expectation in terms of what to pay for that. Whereas if, I always use the analogy on Facebook where it's, if I get, marketed landscape redesign, like, I don't know, a free consultation or whatever, like that's the offer. I never thought, oh, maybe I do need a landscape renovation. And then like contacted somebody about it. I've already thought about this previously. So I'm already technically in market if I actually do want this service. And your Facebook ad didn't convince me that I need it. That's why another thing with Facebook ads, they're really the most effective when you can bundle it with an offer and like 10% off of an annual plan, or maybe your first treatment free, or with a landscaping, it could be 15% off or something like that towards your next landscaping job, which is something we actually recommend if you're going to do winter promotions to increase cash flow. And by that I mean we all know cash flow is super dry in the winter, especially for the northern businesses. But you can get people on the schedule for spring in the winter if they're willing to do or take like a deposit initially during the winter, or just schedule out. If you do maintenance, for instance, just schedule out the plan and then have that winter cash flow to keep things going then, and then your schedule is full in the spring already. And then something we're trying out right now is actually next door ads. It's kind of on the down low, but we're gonna
on the down low.
We'll give your audience the heads up.
We're testing this out.
There's a difference between next door ad. I feel like some people just rolled their eyes because with the next door, typically business owners can only target within like a certain radius of their actual business location. Agencies have a little bit different. So we've got an agency rep where we actually have the same targeting capabilities that Facebook has. We can target people based on interest, any zip code they're in. We can target by demographics, and then we can even dynamically generate like the actual neighborhood that somebody is in the ad text. So we're testing that out. We're hopeful with it, but those opportunities are great. We always recommend Google first and then move out. But you'll be surprised too. It depends on which location you're at. We have a client in northern Texas who spends $600 a month in Google, and his impression share is right at 60%. He's already ready to go to a different platform. We've got other clients in the Northeast who are spending $3,000 a month in Google, and they're just hitting the 60% mark. So it really depends on your market and the amount of volume out there.
Well, I think that's a good point. Like you said earlier, we're talking a little bit about like commercial accounts. If that's the type of business you need to do, you need to really consider where you're going to be placing these ads. You may not be able to get commercial work off Facebook or Nextdoor, perhaps, but Google Ads might be a better option for you. So it's kind of really knowing your audience and your target audience, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. And even then, like if you're only doing commercial, that's even trickier, because even commercial users aren't necessarily searching for commercial in their keywords. So you could have a relatively low cost per click, but you could have really high cost per acquisition, because the way that you target and get someone to click is different than the content you feature on the site and get somebody to actually contact you. Facebook can still be a commercial acquisition channel. It comes down to messaging, because at the end of the day, the people who run the commercial accounts probably also have a Facebook account, and you can target them. There's unique list uploads. If you've got a list of businesses or especially business companies in your area, you can upload that list to LinkedIn and then create a campaign just targeting people at those companies just to get in front of them. Yes. So there's a lot of mediums to consider. And that's why Google is mostly just kind of the one where you don't have to figure out who the audience is, because the audience, all you got to do is be there when someone searches for you, which includes the winter.
So I know we've been talking a lot about like the ads and different places to promote your business, but what about your website? Should the landscapers be thinking about redoing their website or creating a website if they don't have one already? Is this the great time to do this?
Creating a website, yes. If you don't have one, this is like the perfect time to do it. The perfect time to do it was a year ago, but the reason why it's the perfect time now, Google, I've said this before in this podcast too, but Google even says it takes 4 to 6 months to rank, in the top portions of Google. But it also depends on area too. We've had clients, we have a client in Colorado who took a year to rank. It took that 12 months because there's so much competition. We've had clients rank within 2 weeks of launching their site. Really depends on the context or the area, but Google still says 4 to 12 months. We usually say like 3 to 6. So if you start now, by the time March and April hits, you might be in a fairly decent spot to capitalize on some of that traffic. Maybe not as much as you would like, but by the time the next April or March or April rolls around, you'll be in a much better position for sure. As far as like maintaining a site or redoing it or something like that, a redo isn't always necessary. We usually don't recommend redos of a site for, you can keep your site for about 5 years and then maybe it's time to upgrade. But keep the content coming. There's been some huge Google algorithm updates, a lot, like almost like a record-setting amount this December.
Well, it seems like
August or December.
Not local businesses as a hit list, but local businesses have been a casualty of
all their algorithm updates recently just happened to have like affected local businesses like landscapers lately. Like it depends on who you are, but most of the industry is saying it's been affecting them negatively. It hasn't affected any of our clients. And that has a lot to do with different practices we have. We have an episode on your podcast where it's like we talk about, it's like the ultimate SEO guide. We talk about like bad SEO practices. I would listen to that one. And those are the things that we don't do, in which the algorithm. So it's almost a warning. We talked about on the podcast about like doorway pages and things like that. And those are the things they went after. after in like August and December of this year. So like it was just by chance that we predicted it, and then it happened. Um, so, but as far as those algorithm updates, the whole reason bringing that up is because they're focusing on, well, I think I'm making another prediction. They're focusing on a thing called EEAT, which stands for uh, experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness of the actual author of the sites and of the site and the content. So when you go to like a publication site and you see a blog post or an article or something, and it's written by a specific author, that author holds the EEAT signals with Google. So when that author writes something, in theory, the content that author writes gets ranked higher because that author is credible. So this is something you see Cody and myself doing a lot with publications like Turf Magazine, and then I was just published in searchenginejournal.com, which is basically the Forbes of SEO. No, Search Engine Land, which is searchengineland.com. About these Google algorithm updates actually, and so our content gets ranked pretty high because we're authoritative figures in the space. So with our clients, we do the same thing with them. When we write content for them, we put it in their voice. We make sure that their expertise gets added, and then we also make sure that we have credible links and sources and things like that. So if you're in the winter and you've got some time, really educate your client base about the different things you do. Maybe you want to write a blog post about how to build a retaining wall, like from the ground up, and write it as if you were training a new employee, like you were writing a manual on how to do this.
Well, I think that's a great point. I hear from people that, well, I can't put that kind of stuff out there. My competition's going to see it. Their competition knows it. Like they can go anywhere and search for this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I don't get freaked out about that kind of stuff. Like it's.
Yeah, I mean, our whole shtick with Evergrow is that no one has access to all the data that we have. So we can give you like our yearly benchmarks, but all we're showing you are like general cost per clicks and cost per acquisitions. If anything, our competition only sees that as a goal to attain, but they don't know how we're doing it. Cody posts things about their out there landscaping keywords to target, and then he also has a blog post on there about how we run our Google Ads accounts. And they're very generalizations, but it still takes some kind of digging into and figuring out really the minutiae of all of it. And you can't just replicate it. And even if your competition could replicate how to build, the retaining wall, you're giving a generalization about how to build it. There's going to be unique situations with every application you do that only you should have processes to.
I think it's a classic
remedy
case too of overestimating your competition and underestimating yourself, right? I mean, if you're publishing that information like, oh, my competitors are going to steal this or use it, are they really? Because in general, my experience is that people are relatively lazy, and the things that they care to do or take advantage of, I'm much more willing to bet on myself before somebody else. So I think sometimes people just need a reminder that we give a lot away for free, a lot of information that, seriously, go do it. If you're that motivated and you're actually going to do it, awesome. I'm stoked. Like, let us know. And we've had that before where people said, I did this and it worked. And we're like, yeah, of course it did. That's what we do. Like, we told you exactly what we do. So if you actually do take the time and the effort, and I think that's, I guess, another thing that I think about often when, Jake's like, hey, we're going to do another podcast with Scott. And I'm like, yeah, I'm excited, but I also think about who's listening and what position they're in, because there's kind of like levels of what you would care to do yourself or what you care to hire out. And, a lot of this stuff does ultimately depend, like, especially the winter things. Are you doing this yourself or are you looking to hire it out? Because if you're in the position of, I'm a small solo guy, I haven't yet broken 6 figs, I've got downtime in the winter, what am I supposed to do? Well, if you're, let's say you just got to the point of you can leave your day job and you're making just barely enough to make the jump, but you're still scared, build yourself a single page site. That's not the worst thing you can do. It's not. I mean, we're not supposed to say, of course, we want people to come to us, build elaborate, sophisticated sites that are built to rank and that sort of thing. But if you're telling me you have nothing and you're going from zero first and you've got this downtime because you're the one who has the time, that's a very different situation from, I'm getting close to $500,000. I don't have time anymore to do these things. In fact, my winters are tied up dealing with paperwork because we're getting ready for tax season and all this stuff. And I know that we have to deal with this. That's a very different mindset and situation than the first group, right? And then that in those situations, it's not worth your time you got to outsource that sort of thing because you're going to drown under the weight of all your responsibilities. So anyway, kind of side rant, but I want to make sure that people hear that too and don't get confused because we're going to go into some of the nerdy stuff like we're talking about. But if you're not even there, then don't worry about this yet.
Yeah. Well, going back to your point about the writing the blog post about building a retaining wall, I can personally relate to this. I used to do, we called them build a pond days, where I would actually go out and show the public how to build a pond. And, it'd be a scaled down version, but we'd actually have, we go to our hardscape supplier, we created a pond there, and we would spend the whole day building a pond. And some of the people are like, why are you doing that? You're showing your, customers how to do that. What I found was people would come attend this event, and they'd see how much work it is. They're like, oh, I don't want to do this now. Like, it's way harder than I thought. It's way more complicated. So they didn't want to do this. So they ended up hiring us because we became the expert in this because we showed them how to do it. Mm-hmm. And it was just those simple things. So the same thing with creating that blog post on how to build a water feature, how to build the retaining wall, whatever it is. It makes you look as the expert, whether, you're just beginning or not. You're showing up in front of that customer where your competition may not. So take advantage this time and write those blog posts.
Well, I always found it weird too because like a lot of people I've talked to who are in the landscaping industry offer maintenance as a service, and they ask me, why would I post how I do things on my website? I want my clients to pay for me to do it rather than do it themselves. And I was like, you honestly think they don't know how to mow their own lawn? Like it's not about whether they know how to do it or not. If they know how to do it, or if they want to learn how to do it, they're going to find out how to do it, whether they learn it from you or not. And you just better hope your competitor doesn't have it on there, because the minute that they decide that they no longer want to do this anymore, or it's too much work, or they just don't have time, they're going to go to who gave them the free information. Mm-hmm. And we're very much like that. I think we've talked before where every time that we share an insight into your group, like someone asks a question and then we just answer it as thoroughly as possible, the people who end up reaching out to us after those comments are never the people who posed the question. It's always people who are just reading
shout out to the lurkers
comments. And
we love the
lurkers. Yeah. I don't think I've ever engaged with somebody and then like them reach out to me and say like, do you just want to do this for me?
Well, I mean, you're always going to have those DIYers, those people that want to do the stuff themselves. I'm sure you guys run into it with websites, but you are looking for those customers that don't want to do it or don't have the time to do it or just don't have the energy to do it. So same thing here, just spend the time creating the website, creating the Facebook posts, the social media posts, the blog posts, all those types of things. It's all important. And now's the time to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't really want to be seen as like the people that you need to go to. We want to be seen as the industry experts. And if you want to go to us after recognizing that, great. But I think my biggest pet peeve is when we get new clients and or not new clients, but new prospects, and they immediately tell us what they want us to do in terms of their SEO. It's like we're the experts. Like, we can give you our input, but if you don't want to take it, that's okay. My question to you is, why are you trying to hire this out then? If you don't have the time, great. We're month to month. If you don't like how it works, you're free to leave. But that's a lot of the reason why we give a lot of the free advice that we give is industry experts first, and then the acquisition comes second.
I love that. So, is there any other reasons that you guys can think of that we didn't mention so far on why you'd want to market your business in the landscape, or I'm sorry, in the wintertime?
I think we've pretty much covered all those reasons. To recap, what those reasons are, though, is it gets those just remember those commercial accounts are searching in the winter. Your competitors are doing annual. If you do maintenance, they're doing annual renewals around November time, so it's a good time to sneak in there. The data shows that people heavily search in January, or have high intent in January, but don't convert until April. So there's a lot of opportunity to get in front of people who are actively searching, and but then convert them at a later time. It's a little bit of a delayed gratification. But if the data isn't proof enough for you, you can still increase cash flow in the winter by offering services for the spring or spring schedules at a discounted rate. One thing we did with one of our clients, we actually referred them to a company called Inside the Box Marketing, and they do postcards, similar to kind of like SendGym and things like that, but it's more of kind of like a mass distribution.
Okay.
And they what you do is you offer and you can do this through SendGym, or you can do this through any provider you want, but you offer a discount for, let's say you're doing maintenance, you offer 10% off the season, or you offer the first month treatment for free, just with the assumption that they'll do the rest of the treatments. If they switch providers to you, but you send that in November, like early November, mid-November, for the following year, and you get it in there before your competitor sends out their annual renewal. And maybe a competitor isn't at the address that you send it to, but for the ones that are, you're either going to get a switch, or you'll get new client acquisition. I call that conquesting.
I like it. That's a good idea.
Yeah, you do the same thing with Facebook ads, same thing with email, but just really good opportunities to get new clients, even if they're quote locked in to a competitor or something.
Was there anything you guys wanted to add that we didn't go over today? I think we covered a lot here as far as why you need to be promoting your business in the wintertime.
I don't think, God, these 40 minutes
go
by so fast. Like, I feel like I've been on here for like 20 minutes, and here we are. But no, I think that covers everything. I'm sure there's more I mentioned in that turf article that gets published here soon, and we might be able to include that in the show notes too, just so people can look more on winter marketing ideas.
No, I appreciate you guys taking the time to come on here and share all these wonderful ideas. Mind sharing a little bit how people can get hold of you and find a little bit more about Evergrow Marketing?
Yeah. If you guys just visit evergrowmarketing.com, it's all one word. You can take a look at kind of how we do things, what our services look like, read more about our team. Even on our About page, there's a section for why you shouldn't work with us. It's my personal favorite section. It's just so counter to what everybody else has on there. And then, you can fill out the form, give us a call on our number or at our email on the site, and we'll be happy to talk with you.
I love it. Again, thank you guys. I appreciate you being on here today. You guys got a few moments for some fun questions?
Absolutely. This is my favorite part of the podcast.
All right. So when did you guys know that you want to take an entrepreneur path?
Ooh, Jake first, because I feel like he's more confident with this.
Yeah. 2017.
Okay. Very specific.
I remember it. So I've always wanted to take, well, that's not necessarily true. I've always wanted to start a lawn care business. My dad and I talked about it when I was, 18, 19. Just never happened. I got into the marketing world. That's where I met Cody at an agency we worked at together in Iowa. And then I moved to Kansas City in 2017. And then for it was for a kind of an inside sales job, but I was also like the marketing quote unquote director, which just meant I was the only person in the shop who knew anything about marketing. And I was missing the marketing I was doing at the agency that I was at in Iowa. So what I decided to do was start Evergrow. Actually, it was just a DBA, and it looked nothing like what it looks like now. So I like to say that Evergrow started in 2017, but it didn't really start until 2019 when Cody and I partnered up. And I think in 2017, that was like when I started my business, and I was like, this is what I want to do, because now I don't have a boss, and I can make the agency that I love working at, but not as toxic as like the actual agency world really is.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
What about you, Cody?
That's a tough one, because I think that so I've been doing local lead generation for nearly a decade at this point. So it was very easy to focus in on landscaping and lawn care, just because that's the category. But I've actually, like Jake said, we were at agency, we were doing automotive. I've done banks and credit unions. I mean, there's very few local businesses that I hadn't done because I'd spent so long in the agency scene. But I was never the guy who was like, yeah, I need to go start my own thing. It was just more so, I think the longer you spend in there, the more you realize, it'd be better if we did it this way. This would be a lot more convenient. And the more I experienced that, the more, I guess, over time I built confidence. And then once I had Jake, just the courage and the confidence to say, yeah, well, let's go try it entirely where we call the shots and we do things how we want to be doing it. So, yeah, I don't know if there was a particular time, and I think I could even still, in the right circumstances, I guess, go back. I'd be less happy, undoubtedly, for sure. But yeah, I guess I don't know the time, but that's what kind of drove it, was let's do this entirely on our own and see how it goes.
We have our own podcast about being agency owners, and we were just talking about this actually. I asked Cody if he was happier working at another company or if he was happy owning an agency, because you definitely work more now. But you said yes, you like owning the agency, and but it's not like exponential.
Yeah, I always joke around. It's a 55-45 for me, and that 5% is always controlling your time. That's what it always comes back to. Is yeah, I can, if I need to go take care of something, I can. I'll stay up until 11 working to make up for it, but that's worth it. That alone is what makes it worth it.
Yep. Nice. I love it. Love it. All right, this one's called This or That. Would you rather have a phone call or make a phone call or text, and why?
Oh, well, we're both going to say the same thing. Okay. I think. Well, it depends. Like, are we trying to get money, or are we trying to?
Well, we'll say overall, in general.
I still rather text. Okay. I don't. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to shoot myself in the foot saying this, because I don't necessarily like talking on the phone, but that's literally all I do all day. I don't mind receiving a phone call. I'll put it that way. I don't mind receiving a phone call at all. I will answer that, and we'll talk for an hour. But I don't like making calls. I just like shooting a text, because then I can like fire it over, respond to it when you get to it, and I can work on
about this
else.
for sure.
Gotcha.
I hate phone calls. I say that. Okay, I hate phone calls. I do, because maybe the reason that Jake said, when it's a message, people can respond on their time. So unless it's mutually, we communicate via written messages, and then we schedule time together when we need to, and that just makes sure that everybody's on the same page, as opposed to, like, I think phone calls you can disturb people's time when they're focused on something, and then they get back and they're like, I got to get back into this and all that. But I say all that, and then I'll say, what's worse than what's worse than a phone call is a text message that should have been a phone call, right? Don't send me 3 pages of text, right? Like that is worse. Just call me, right? Let's be efficient.
I just want to respond to it.
Yep.
Just well, like this should have been a phone call or an email. Like I'm not gonna
Or
read all this on my
I
phone.
see all that and I'm like, can I call
Been
you?
there.
Okay, let's just call.
All right, last one. What is your favorite piece of technology?
Oh man.
Oh. I'll say this. I'll say this for your son, Scott. My paintball gun. But aside from nerdy stuff, well, just kidding. It's still nerdy. Probably my computer. I've been getting really into web development lately, like actual coding, and working on HTML, CSS, SQL, JavaScript, and it's been like fun, which I don't know what that says about my personality. And I'm like, I
Great.
feel like I'm turning into
It's
Cody.
real nice.
Yeah, I know. It's the worst. But I've also been using my computer to learn Spanish as well. So I'm 2 months into that. So I'm gonna have to say my computer because that's just where I'm at all day.
I will
What about
say
you?
I use a trackball mouse, and that's a very nerdy thing, and I love it. And that's probably actually I've had wrist pain for years. I'm left-handed now with a mouse because I had so much wrist pain with my right hand. So I switched to a trackball, and now I'm lefty.
Wow.
And people see it at my desk all the time. They're like, "What is that? What's going on?" I'm like, it's weird. I know it's weird. I'm weird, but I can work. So yeah, it's probably my favorite, and I keep to myself because people get very confused when they see it.
Nice. I'm impressed you can go from right to
Oh,
left.
it was
To
terrible.
like
Yeah, it
that
was not a good
trackball.
time.
That's impressive.
It was probably 3 weeks of just because not only are you switching hands, but then because I mean, if anybody doesn't know what a trackball is, it's like imagine like a small billiard ball, right? Like a pool ball, and then you're using your fingers to move it as opposed to moving your whole hand with the mouse. So everything now becomes really hard to like put the cursor where you want it to go. So you have the double issue of, well, I can't even get it where I want it to go. Now I'm doing it with my left hand. So I feel like a 3-year-old with crayons. So anyway.
Every time I come to Cody's house, I always sit because he's got like an indented keyboard that's like very ergonomic, and it's super weird. And so like every time I come to his house, I sit at his computer and I pretend to be him, and I just say like, "Well, Jake, we can't spend money there." No, but the setup is just so ergonomically like set up that I
I
my
don't have to
body
worry
can't,
about
my
anybody
brain
like
can't
hacking
function.
or stealing because I mean if they deserve it. If they can come in here and work this thing, then whatever they did, good job. Because this took me years to get used to. It's weird.
My mom has one of those keyboards. I
Oh
can't type
really?
on it. It's like terrible. I'd rather. I'm not a fan of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just weird.
Yeah, I have a nice flat gaming keyboard, and I will use it until I get arthritis.
Is it a very loud clicking one?
It is. It's the MX
We
Cherry
both got
Blues for any of our
mechanicals.
gamers out there. So it is the loudest.
Yeah.
It is the loudest. It sucks for podcasts. I've got to mute my mic every time I type something in.
I can see that. My son has. I'm not. Doesn't have that one. He has like the second. I don't know which order it is, but it's pretty loud. It's next to our bedroom, so I'll hear him like.
Yeah, it's probably like I think it's like a red or something that makes
Yeah.
sure you red. You pop a keycap off, the color underneath the keycap indicates the loudness of it essentially.
Yeah.
And mine's blue, but browns are like one of the
I have the
quietest.
supposed
And I want to switch
silent.
to
They're
that.
not, but they are probably compared to Jake's more quiet.
Oh, this is. I mean, you can hear it.
Oh yeah.
Mine's very loud.
Oh yeah, nice. All right, guys. Well, it's always a blast talking to you guys. I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show again. Guys out there listening, make sure you guys continue to market your landscape business in the wintertime, no matter what. Like you said, like Jake and Cody said, maybe you have to cut back on your spend a little bit, but there's other things you could be doing to promote your business, and I encourage you to do that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to Jake and Cody. Get hold of Evergrow Marketing. These guys can help you take your business to the next level. So I encourage you guys to check them out. Thanks again, guys. I appreciate you being on here. We'll talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. Yep. Thanks, Scott.